Welcome to episode 3 of A Year in My Garden. In today's episode, I'll update you on my Amaryllis. I'll also show you how to prune fruit bushes. You can take a look at my currants and how I'm going to rejuvenate them. And also talk about pre-packed bulbs. When you go to garden centre and buy them, what do you expect? And you can take a look at my bargain violas. Have they thrived or have they failed? All this and more. Welcome to A Year in My Garden. Remember these clearance plants? I bought a pack for 50p and they look pretty manky and old. This is what they look like now. I mean, take a look at that. Pennies each really. And they've come back, not all, there's one or two just here that have struggled, but look, they're growing, but most of them here, look at the flowers on that one. And this one, look at this one here. Discount clearance plants. You can get a lot of bang for your buck. Now bear in mind, of course, I've planted these in the bed here as part of the experiment and it's inside my Keda greenhouse here. But bargain basement plants brought with a little bit of TLC. I have just watered them. I put one liquid feed in. I just mixed one liquid feed in and did that with a water. Wow. But keep watching. We'll come back to them and see how they grow from here. Next up, let's take a look at these pre-packed plants. Now, this is really going to save you some money and maybe demystify what you think, because sometimes in garden centres you get racks and racks of these. Now, normally you see bulbs in packets like this. We call them pre-packs in the trade. When I was a plant buyer, I bought quite a few of them. Now, you do get some very cheap ones from certain stores in small packaging and they look great value for money. But if you've got small roots or tubers inside the packs because you're paying cheap, sometimes you have to wait a year or two before they even flower. If you see a sign like this saying extra pack or extra large pack, you know, as you can see in the back here, there's a massive system of tubers in here with the Dahlias. Because if you get bigger tubers, you know you've got a stronger plant because it's got all the energy within the roots, and therefore it's more liable to flower in its first year or second year, like the little small ones, which tend to take ages. So let me just show you what you get inside. This one here is a pom-pom and bull mixed Dahlias. So when you buy them, $6.99. Let's see what I get in here. Let's tip that out and take a look. So I've got 1, 2, and there's some, well, that's supposed to be another one, but lots of these side bits have fallen off. So 2 really good plants, I would say, and 1 slightly smaller plant. And these tubers here are all little storage system for the plant, and I'll show you how to pot them up. Now, normally, if some tubers fall off and they've expanded enough to produce an eye, it's worth potting them up because they could sprout, but obviously they'll be very juvenile, take a bit to build up the energy. With the other big ones, I've got a large container just in here. I'm going to put 1 in each container, so there'll be 2 planted in total. You can work out which is the right way up because you can see the stem where the plant was growing on, and underneath, almost like a little octopus, its legs or its tubers or its energy. So as you can see, I've got it in the container here like that. I'm going to bring these on in the containers indoors here, and then when they've got a decent root system and a bit of a head as well, and the frost are free, I'm going to plant it outside in the border over the back. So there we have it. I've got 2 really good plants out of that and 1 more to come, and bear in mind that's £6.99, that's £3.50 a plant. If you're buying them pre-grown in garden centres, it could be anything £15 or more. You're saving money. Next one here is an Agapanthus. Let's see what you got. If you're choosing them from the garden centre, give the bags a squish. If you can see greenery growing from them and trying to get out, you know that's been on the shelf for a while, don't take it. If it's soft and squishy or it's got a horrible smell to it, you know that's rotted. This is the Agapanthus. Let's take a look at what you get. There we are. 1, 2, 3, and a small one. Now you have a choice of choosing one big container and putting more of the roots in one so you get a bigger plant, or you can plant them in a container each and grow them on. What I'm going to do with this one is what have I got here? I'm going to put 2 in one container and 2 in the other. So I'm going to put the biggest and the smallest in one container and the 2 medium in the other. The thing to remember about Agapanthus and buying them small like this is you may not get the flowers in the first year. It may take a little time for the plant to establish, but once you've got it in your border established, it'll flower for years and years. You can work out which way is up, because there you are, there's the shoot. And generally, of course, roots are facing down, but you can see that one's already started to sprout. So just underneath the soil. Next one up, lovely picture of the lily of the valley. Let's see what we get with this. There we go. Now, the first thing to think about is to check whether there is anything that's holding these plants together. And there is. There's an elastic band. So you want to take this elastic band off. Many people don't know and plant the whole thing in one pot. And let's see how many plants we've got. Let's untangle the roots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very good plants here. Aren't they lovely? And this is what you get. Lily of the valley. Such a spectacular little plant. So there are 5 really good plants. Now you can pot these into individual containers or plant 3 or 4 in one. What have I got here? I've got the big container. Actually, I might do, how can we get there? I'm going to do 3 of them in one of these containers to get a good display, and I'll plant the other 2 singly afterwards and we'll see how they perform. And finally, now these are iris, so where we've had roots, where we've had tubers, these are now rhizomes, is the description of the content. So let's tip them out and see what I get from the iris. So this is iris, very different from the others. You get these beautiful tops. They're all quite different. The Agapanthus, originally from South Africa, prefers a drier location, but in full sun. The lily of the valley is more underneath trees with a bit of shade, and the iris themselves do like a little bit of moisture on their feet. So I've got 1 good plant there. What else we got? I've got 1 here. See what, we've got 3. We've got 3 very small iris, these. Now, what I'm going to do with this one, because they're so small, I'm going to plant all 3 in one container. That's pretty much, I'm using the soil they came in with. See that little growth already? Sometimes if they've been in packaging a long time, they have a tendency to dry out, so giving them a really good saturation before you start. So, there we go. What was that one there? That is some iris. $6.99, a really good pot full there. These here, $6.99, and I've got a couple of containers of lily of the valley. And again, you're going to be able to see how these produce in the pot. These ones just here, Agapanthus, and there's a good couple of potfuls of that. And finally, over here, there are Dahlias. Check in the garden centres at the moment. For a few quid, you could be getting some beautiful plants. And when we come back next time to take a look, you can see exactly how these are performing. And as we get into summer, we can check out whether some of them produce flower or not in the first year. Next up, how to prune fruit bushes for strong, healthy growth. These are my currants. This one hasn't been pruned yet. They all have. I've saved this one for you. In fact, currants are brilliant to add into the garden. You don't need to have a grow your own area. You can grow currants just in a normal border with your ornamental plants because they flower, nice foliage, or a little bit of autumn colour, and of course they've also got the fruit as well. I picked this one up here, 10 quid. If you prune this and look after this right, you'll have it for 2 decades, 20 years. So that's what, 50p a year, and you have fresh fruit as well, which goes perfectly. And they're not just about black currants, there's also red currants and there's white currants as well. So they work particularly well taken into the house for smoothies or for fruit salads. Now, pruning is one of the key things, because you may think to yourself, bigger is better. I've got a big plant, so I'm going to get loads more berries. Doesn't work like that. Encouraging young, healthy growth produces not only more berries and a higher yield, it also has better tasting berries. If it starts to get old and woody like this one is in the centre, the reduction of the yield takes place and the flavour isn't quite as good, unless of course you're picking from the younger stems. So what I do is I'm going to get in there, thin that out so there's plenty of air movement through, encourage new growth and get more berries and better tasting berries at the same time. And it's not just about the flavour of the berries, it's the health of the plant as well. Sometimes you get some pathogens, some fungus, causing some difficulty with the plant. By pruning out and allowing more airflow through, it stops the damp conditions and helps inhibit some of the fungus. And also, there's a horrible caterpillar that gets in here, sawfly, and it's also because my gooseberries are just around the back there, and it comes in and it eats all the leaves. If you prune it so it's easy to get round and see, you can pick them off yourself when you see them, or the birds will do that job for you, but they can't do it if it's a mass of foliage, because this looks pretty congested at the moment. Imagine what it's going to be like when all the leaves are out. It's just a mass. You can't get in to see the berries and the like, so you have to give it a prune. And the other thing about it is if you do prune off some of the stems and then stick them into pots, they can root. If you do this during the winter, this is one I did last year, look at that. It's a cracking little plant. And if you, in fact, George, come over here, let me just show you. Sometimes when the branches hit the ground, just come down here and take a look. See this branch here that's come close to the ground? It's actually rooted. Look, that's rooted into the ground. There's another one just over here. Oh, this is the better one, George. Have a look round here. Come round here. There we go. Oh, just got spiked by a gooseberry. Look, that's gone into the ground there. Let's have a take a look. And that's actually, look at the roots there. Now I'm going to cut that and take that and put it into a pot, and I've got a brand new currant as well. But I really need to start pruning this and getting to grips with it. So, decent pair of loppers. Now these are bypass loppers. See that? One, almost like a pair of scissors, just passing each other like that, rather than an anvil which cuts hard on. The anvil, if you use, is mainly for dead wood because you can get the pressure, but it damages and bruises the wood. This here cuts smoothly straight through. And when you are pruning, and let me give you an example of this here. See all these different buds along here? There's a bud there, bud there, bud there. You really want to prune to an out-facing bud, because if I cut it to that one there, that bud will make it grow right into the centre. So prune to an out-facing bud, enabling them to come out. But before I even get that stage, I'm going to go in and cut out some of the old wood. And George, come over here, let me just show you what the difference is between old and new. Now this is a particularly congested one, so I'm going to have to do a bit of work on this. And for this year, I'm going to cut it back so much, there might not be as much fruit, but there'll be more young stems for next year. So this is really a, how do I call it? A regeneration prune. But as you can see here, this young stem is it's just about pencil thickness, something similar to that, young and healthy with a slightly lighter colour. Yet this stem down here, look at this, look at that one there, that's old and woody and quite thick. So I'm going to try and cut some of these big ones out to encourage from the base new ones to grow. So I will get some crop this year, but the following years it'll be a lot better. So let's get right in there and take one of these big centre stems in that's congesting the middle, and then take that just out like that. So what I'm going to do is I chop these up and put them in the compost heap, but just so I can show you. You know what I was mentioning about out-facing bud? Say that bud was facing in that direction. There we go. I'll give it a cut at an angle facing away from the bud, something like that, so the water doesn't drip into the bud, and that would then grow in that direction. Having said that, what I'm going to do, take a couple like that, and we'll just see. There's no guarantee. The thing about plants, you get certain times a year to do things, but you can experiment all year. Now, here we go. Little pot with peat-free compost in there. Force it down into position. Put it out of the greenhouse. There's every chance that will root. And don't take my word for it. These were stuck in with a lot less care than that one was just then, this time last year. And look at the root system on that. It's all growing in. So you get free plants. And if you grow them like that, you can give them to your friends, your neighbours, your other members of the family. Right, I'm going to get started. First thing I'm going to do is be able to get around it. So all these branches that are coming off into the pathway, I'm taking out, and I'm taking them as far down as I can. So I'm really going to get amongst it to thin it out so I can see what to do. Now, the thing when you're pruning, certainly something that hasn't been pruned for a while, you're sort of battling with wanting to leave something for it to grow, so you don't just cut it really just hard down to the ground, but still wanting to encourage growth. So in some cases, if it's been left for a while, do it in 2 stages. Thin out a little bit one year, leaving some of the old ones in, and as new growth comes through the following year, cut out the remaining old growth. That's pretty much what I'm doing here, but really my eye is about thinning. Where there's a thicket in the centre, take them out, and the more you take out, the clearer it is what you've got to cut next. Some people cut them right the way down to the ground at the beginning of each year. I prefer to leave a framework like this one is here. Encourages young to get out, but also get some pretty good earlier fruit. One thing that causes the difficulty is crossing branches, because what happens is the branches rub against each other, exposing plant tissue during storms or progressive wind, and it opens up the possibility of disease getting into the wound. So never have crossing branches. It also makes it easier for you to pick. Thank you. Now over here, can I have a little look, George? There's quite a few of them that have rooted into the ground. There's one here. I'm going to take it out and plant it with where there's a bit more space. There we go. Another new plant, and there's another one. That little one's rooted as well. Look at that. Look at this. 1 plant, 2 plant, 3 and 4. It's 40 quid. There's quite a bit I've taken off this one. I've left some in because I do want to be able to have some fruit, but there'll be plenty of new younger growth coming up. Again, I'll thin out to get the dominant strong ones for next year as well. But you just think of the size of the root that's under the ground and how much material I've dug out. There's a lot of energy there, and I'm hoping it, apart from growth, it'll also be focusing in on the fruit. Let's check on the progress of that giant Amaryllis bulb, and also has my little hyacinth bulb grown in the glass. Remember what the hyacinth used to look like in the glass? I was doing some demos with bulbs, and I had to hold over some bulbs from autumn. This is a hyacinth bulb, and I just thought I'd show you. We'll do an experiment. May work, may not. And you should be doing this in autumn, so this is terribly late for this. It's touch and go, and we'll find out whether that flowers at a future episode. Here it is now. Unfortunately, because it's old and I've done it really late, but it was worth a shot anyway, the flower itself hasn't formed. However, the leaves are growing healthy, and look at this, the root system as well. You can buy these hyacinth glass relatively cheaply, but it's something you should really be doing in autumn rather than in spring with an older bulb that's left over. Having said that, let's leave it in there and see how it goes. That's the thing about gardening. It's about an experiment. It's not about just rushing to the end result. The enjoyment is in the journey. Now, remember that giant Amaryllis bulb that I got and I potted it up? Well, it's only been a matter of just over a week, and it's gone from this to this. Look at that. And guess what? What a chance. What a bit of luck. It's a double header. 2 heads, and it's starting to look a little bit pinky red at the moment. So I'm hoping it's going to be that big red one. And right in the middle, sandwich there, can you see that? That's the leaves that are coming through. How amazing is that? A little bit later, in next episode, I'll show you what it looks like then. But what a difference in that short period of time. Nature is so wonderful. Until next time, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more great content like this. And also, if you turn on your notifications, you'll never miss a video from me.